Before I even talk about what we're going to be talking about in today's video, I just want to say thank you so much for everybody who kept, commenting and liking, and to my subscribers. Thank you so much for 200 subscribers. That might not be so much for some people, but that is so much. It means a lot to me, especially when YouTube sent me that I reached my first 100 subscribers. I was like, well, if YouTube is celebrating me, why am I not celebrating myself? So thank you so much. And if you didn't subscribe, please consider subscribe. On this channel I give information about moving abroad and just my lifestyle itself in Germany. And I'm also going to continue or speak more about how being a parent in Germany is like for people who are planning to come and maybe have a family, or they want to give birth here in Germany, or they fall pregnant and stuff like that, because those are the things I have more information and experience about. And what's better than giving you things that I've gone through myself? But other than that, thank you, and thank you so much. Keep watching, keep everything. I'm just really excited. So yes, in today's video, we're going to be talking about kindergartens or kitas in Germany. That was highly requested as well. So stay tuned and keep watching. Lovely if you subscribe. So in Germany, you have what we call kita, krippe, and creche. And this, for me, basically just sounds almost the same, because these are all the kids who are starting from the age of 3 months all the way to 3 years. And then as soon as they turn 3 years, they move to kindergarten. There are also exceptions where you find kids in kindergarten who are 2.5 or who are almost 3 years, because maybe of their developmental level or how mature they are and stuff like that. But otherwise, we have those two types. Please forgive me, the lighting is not that good today because it's raining and it keeps getting dim and light. I see it here. So we also have what we call Tagesmutters and Tagesvaters, and these are basically people who take care of kids, maximum 5 kids, and they take care of these kids either at their houses or at a specific place. And so if you don't get a kindergarten, you can also get those. And there are also many other types in different towns as well. So moving on to education. In Germany, it's not as much as like back home where I grew up, where in the kindergarten you're basically taught, how to count, how to write, how to do all of those things. And by kindergarten for us, I mean from 0 all the way to 6 years as well, or to 5, somewhere there. You are taught how to count, how to write your name, how to do all of these things. Here it's more like, it's an open free, it's early childhood development in terms of playing. So it's the kids play, and then they go outside of the school. They collect, like maybe leaves and grass, and every season they go out. During winter they go out and probably look at the snow, build snowmen. During spring they collect flowers, or they look at different colors and stuff like that. During autumn, dried leaves and stuff like that. So this is basically how they learn, by going out and moving, and not, or like coloring and painting and so forth, but not things like really, ABCs and what we have at home, for instance. The schools here are also mainly in German, obviously. Yeah, but you also find schools that are German and English. If they are like a mixture of German and English. If there are any other schools that have other languages, I have no idea at the moment. But so far, those are the ones I know of. And within the education, they also do a lot of festivals, like the, Fasching. They do Christmas. When it's winter, they do a lot of activities. They dress up. And that is really beautiful. They when it's Halloween, all of these activities that happen, they usually go and attend them. And there's always something happening at school, or like involving parents as well, coming in and seeing what the kids are doing, or just the kids themselves going out on walks, and going into the bushes or in fields and stuff like that. So they do a lot of this indoor outdoor kind of situation. And there are also things like, Montessori, or just other types of kindergarten, where the kids can, reach the things, the zincs are quite low, where the kids can wash themselves, their hands themselves. They have their towels, right? Everything is laid basically like at the bottom, where the kid can reach for it themselves, so they can be more independent. They are taught how to put on their own shoes, how to put on their jackets, just like at the age of 1.5 to 2. They can already do these things on their own, because again, you might have a class with 20 or 22 kids, and then you only have 2 teachers or 3 teachers. So definitely you need all of these kids to be as independent as possible. And I also really like that, because I'm also always promoting independence for my son. So that's another concept which I really love. I'm not sure if this applies to every kita or every kindergarten, but then so far the two that I've experienced, they actually do that. You have like the red group, the yellow group, or you have the giraffes, the tigers, and so forth. That's how they classify the kids. Like my son, for instance, is in the red group at his school, and this is classified according to their ages. So the smaller ones are in one group, and then the bigger ones are in another group. And then you have the kindergarten, where you have now the 3 to 6 in other groups as well. But then it's not this does not happen in all schools. Some schools are much have an open concept where all the kids are basically able to be in one or another class. So it's not divided according to age, but then they are just in any class. They're just putting in whichever class had space at the time. Or you also find that these kids can move from the green to the red, or from the giraffes to the lions, to the whichever group they want to move to, without any restrictions whatsoever. So that's more like an open concept. And in these open concepts ones, they also don't really have routines where you sleep at this time, you do like at my son's school, they have a routine. So they have breakfast at 9, and then they play, and then around 12 or so they have lunch, and then around 12:30 they start prepping for nap time, and after nap time is picking up time, and whoever stays waits for like the snack, and then wait for the parents to come pick them up again. But then open concept you have where kids, if they're hungry, they feel like they want to eat right now, they go to their bag, they grab their snack and eat. And if they feel like they want to take a nap now, they do so. So there are different types of concepts in the school. Now when it comes to food, a lot of these kindergartens, they provide lunch for the kids, and what the parent has to bring is just breakfast. And if the child stays until like 4 in the afternoon or 5, then you need to bring extra snacks as well. So you bring breakfast for the child, and then lunch they eat at school, which is usually warm, and is either cooked by the school itself or it's sent to the school from the hospital. So it's basically like healthy food and stuff like that. And then you have snack in the afternoon that the parents should prepare for the kids as well. And you have schools that are only vegan, schools that are mixed, and then schools that are for people who do not eat pork and stuff like that. So it's a whole vast. You can always choose where you feel comfortable to take your child to, and how it works for you and for your family. And the other thing, like at my son's school, they are not allowed to take any sweet things. So no sweet things, no sweets, no chocolates, no candy, which is all the same. No muffins, like these sweet muffins or chocolates or sweet cookies and stuff like that. You can find many other snacks which are not sugary at all, because they do not allow kids to have any sugar, which I actually like so much, because I also don't like my son consuming so much sugar. It just causes too much. They are either hyperactive or all of this. They don't want to take naps, and yeah, too much. So I like that concept, and hence why we chose that kindergarten specifically. And then you have the clothing. So clothing at the schools, they always make sure that the parent bring all the clothes for all seasons to stay at the school. So in winter, you are expected to bring all of these overalls that the child can still go outside and feel warm, because they don't want to limit the kids, because now it's winter, we're not supposed to go outside. So you need all of this clothing to stay at the school. When it's rainy season, so like autumn or maybe early spring and so forth, then the kids need all of this, jumpsuits with raincoats, basically a pants, a rain jacket, and then rain boots and stuff like that. And then when it's summer as well, they need hats, to protect themselves from the sun, and then they need sunscreen. All of these things are kept at the school. So each child has their little compartment where they keep all of these things, and then whatever is happening that day, the teachers can just dress the kids. And moving on, when it comes to integration, so integration in a way of like Eingewohnung, when you are bringing your child in the beginning, how to let the child get used to the teachers or stuff like that. Basically the first week, as soon as you bring your child, this, I had two experiences. One with the Tagesmutter, which is the people who stay at home and take care of maximum 5 kids, and then the second one we had at the kindergarten. With the Tagesmutter, it took about a month, and unfortunately, it was because she did not touch the kids. Like she wouldn't pick the child up or stuff like that. There was no contact unless the child came um, voluntarily to her. That was the only time she would pick the child up. But if the child didn't come to her, then she was just gonna, maybe put some toys down there and let the child play. And for me, that was a little bit hard for my son, who was just like 10 months at the time. He needed more contact, to get to know this person and stuff like that. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And it took us about a month plus until we noticed that, what, he keeps crying, it's not happening, and we cannot continue going to work, because the parent has to be there, starting like an hour first, and then the child goes in, and then, the parent wait, and then another hour, then tomorrow you come back for another hour, and it continues like that, until the child can stay a whole day, or for whatever time you want the child to stay. But it took us a month and more, and unfortunately, the child was just not getting used to. And then we applied for a kindergarten, and as soon as we got to kindergarten, we did the Eingewohnung, and it took a week, literally 1 week. The first day he was super excited. I don't know if it was because there were more kids, or it's just because the teachers literally held him the very first day. They usually give you one specific teacher who's working with the child alone. And so you have other teachers in the class, but then there's one specific one who's responsible for your child. So they give you, every time you bring the child, you bring it to this teacher. So this lady actually picked the child up and played with him, and the first day took him away for a while, and my husband stayed for a while outside, and then the next day again he brought him, and it went like that, 2 hours and then 3 hours. Eventually he even slept. He took a nap there, and there was no problem. And it took literally just 1 week with this Eingewohnung. So the only different, I liked the lady as well of the Tagesmutter lady. She was really kind and nice, but because of her concept of not picking up kids and stuff like that, it was really hard for my son to be eingewohnt, if that's even a word, but to like get used to the kindergarten day. But actually, we are happy right now and glad that we moved him to here because it's more social, more open, a lot of kids, and they can do a lot of things. So that's how the Eingewohnung happens here. Make sure you inform your boss that you are going for Eingewohnung, because it can take so much time and you're not going to be able to go to work during that time because you have to do this. Say that you do it, or you have a child at home where while you have to go to work. So it's something you cannot skip. And this was very, very amusing for me because where I come from, you call today, hi, I'm looking for a kindergarten. They're like, yeah, okay, there's space. Tomorrow morning, you bring the child, you say here, and they get the child and they tell you to run. The child will be screaming and crying and rolling on the floor. Nobody cares. They pick the child up and, do whatever. And you, the parent, you are off and go to work. Here, come 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, until the child eventually wants to go on their own. It's a nice transition. It's actually a really good transition, even if it's time consuming. But yeah, some of us were shocked, you know, just dropped at the kindergarten, and then the parent runs off, and you wonder, okay, who are these people? What's happening? But yeah, that's one one thing here that's different from where I come from. So moving on to how to find a kita. If you live in a big city, it's gonna be very, very hard because there are a lot of people, and then everybody needs a kita here and there. And if you live in a smaller city, it's not that bad, but also it also depends on how many people are in the city. So you usually have a kita portal. This is where you apply, you put in all your details, and then you put in 5 kindergartens that you want. You put it in an order that you would want them. So the first one is the one you actually want the most, and then the second one is your second option, and third, and then it goes on like that. So they're going to contact the first one. If they find space, you are lucky and you go there, and if not, they move on to the next one, and so forth, so forth. And if they don't find anything for you, they're going to search again in your area for you and try to find the kita for you. But then this actually takes a very long time. For some people, it can go up to 7-8 months basically. I am so lucky to say, I don't even call it lucky. I don't think it's luck. It's just blessings and stuff like that. Because a lot of my things that people are always saying, no, these things take long, take long. It doesn't seem to take long for me. After we got from the Tagesmutter, in 1 week I applied on this portal, and I was called by 2 kitas already. One said they have space, but not the time was not what I wanted. And the second one, they were like, okay, you need to cancel the first one first because you didn't take it and it was your first option, and come to us. Like within a week we got this kindergarten, so it was like wow, wow. And yeah, so you need to apply as early as possible. Some people say you should even apply when you're pregnant, when you're expecting already. This is when you start applying for this kita, because you might not get a space, and it can be a whole hassle and stuff like that. But you need to apply as early as possible on this kita portal. And once you apply on that portal, they have your information, and they're going to search for something that suits you and your child in your location basically. Oh, and it's also easy if you already have your previous child at this specific kita or kindergarten, then it's easier for them to also take your next child. Yeah? But you should still have to apply for it, or let them know already that, okay, you know what, you have my child right now, and I'm expecting this one. I also want them to come here, so they will do the application and have the space for you already, so that as soon as it's time for the child to come in, you already have the space there. So the other big thing is how long your child stays at the school. You as an individual don't actually decide this, unfortunately. Maybe unless if it's a private school, and I don't have knowledge about that. But otherwise, when you take your child to the school, they actually calculate for you, or the government calculates for you. You need to give in what hours you go to work. They will calculate for you whether or not you need as much time. So if you work until 5, then they can take your child and let them stay there for like until 5:30. Or if you work until 2, for instance, then they'll just give you time until that time. So they're always picking up times for kids, randomly. So some go at 1:30, some go at 2, some kids are picked up at 2:30, some 3, some 4, according to how the parents are working. That's how they allocate the hours for you. And they also take priority for single parents who obviously do not have help from somebody else, and they make sure to give these people more time because you still have to be at school and sustain your family, which is now you and your child. But other than that, if you do not have if you do not work for so long, then you get lower hours of the kita, and if you work long, then you get more hours of the kita. But priority to single parents. That's so far what I've seen that they do here. And the other thing is also making sure that you are super punctual when it comes to dropping the kids or picking up the kids. If they tell you that, okay, you are going to be picking your child at 2, then you need to make sure that 5 minutes before 2 you are already there picking up the child, because as soon as it's 2, they are standing at the door wondering what's happening. Where are you, holding your kid already waiting for you to come pick the child up? And that's not a very good thing all the time, or I don't like that. And if you're like a minute or two late, then people are like, why are you, oh my god. It might sound crazy from like where I come from and so forth, but the truth is, it's like that here. You need to be at least be 5 minutes earlier to come and pick the child up. And even to drop the child, you can't just decide, no, today I'll drop the child at 10, tomorrow at 9, and so forth. You need to have a fixed time to drop the child, because if they're having breakfast, then it's breakfast, and then your child will miss out. If they're traveling out of the kindergarten and then you come whatever time, then your child will miss out, and that's not good for the child. They won't feel included and so forth. But they don't really care. It's punctuality, dropping and picking. That's how. So the biggest thing, which is now the cost of the kindergartens or the kitas, it definitely just depends on city to city. And yes, everything in Germany just depends on one city to another, because they are all like different states, and they have different rules, and everything operates differently in each state. There are states like where Berlin is, and in Berlin there is no fair. So you do not pay for kindergarten, you don't pay for kita, you don't pay for anything. Kids go for free year out, basically. And that is like such an amazing thing compared to like Cologne, where you can find an average of a parent who really earns a lot. They can make them pay as much as like 650 or 670 euros per month for one specific child. So you can just imagine, like, you see the difference. Yeah. So the calculation of the cost of the kindergarten, how much, or the kita, how much you have to pay, is basically according to your income. For schools that are government schools, the government will have to calculate how much you make, how much your household basically, so you and your partner, and if you're single, how much you make alone, and then from there they have to calculate how much you have to pay. Like where I live, you have to pay about, I think the minimum, depending on how much you earn, the minimum is 175 euros. That's how much you pay for a child per month. Yeah. And then the maximum can go up to 400 and something, depending again on your income. And then you also pay for the food. Like I said in the beginning, they give kids food during lunch, and per month you pay about 70 euros. Yeah, for us it's 70 euros. So you put the 70 euros plus, if you now pay the 175, then you add those two together, and that's the amount you're going to be paying. So every whatever amount the government calculates for you to be paying, then you add the food to it, and that's what you'll be paying per month. And most of the kindergartens are not paid. So you only pay for kita, which is from 3 months all the way to 3 years. And after 3 years, the child attends for free, which is, finally a relief, because then hopefully from 3 and above, they don't pay. And also, it's not a requirement for kids to be at school from 0 all the way to 3 years. You can take your child if you want to, but it's not like required, or you're not supposed to actually take the child if you do not want to. But from 3, they are required to be at the school, because thereafter, then they are prepared for primary school and so forth. And also, sometimes if you already have one child in the kindergarten and then you bring the next child usually doesn't pay. But again, it depends on the city you are living in. So one child pays, and then the next child goes for free. Yeah. This one's now when they are in the kita or the creche. Oh, this lighting today. But anyway, sometimes you also have to pay for the number of hours that the child stays. So if it's like from 7 to 2, you pay this amount. And if you want to add extra hours after that, then you also have to pay like an extra amount to this already amount that you are paying for the school fees. So that's basically it. There's no one specific. It's not that we all go to this specific kindergarten, we all pay the same, because all of our kids are 3 years, which is, what happens from where I come from, for example. So if all the kids are 2 years, then they all pay the same depending on how long they stay. But here it depends on how much the parent earn. If you earn more, then you also pay more. If you earn less, then you also pay less, which I feel like is actually a, it's a good thing, because you might be earning under average, and now you have to pay exactly the same amount that somebody who earns above average is paying. So yeah, that's basically how a lot of calculations here in Germany go when it comes to schools and stuff like that. Yeah, so guys, that's everything I had on kindergarten here in Germany. And if you have any more questions regarding, being a parent in Germany, or wanting to bring family in Germany, or whatever questions you have at all, just feel free to drop them down in the comment below. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, we'll see each other in the next video. Thank you so much again, and love you. Choose.